Greetings, Thrillseekers. I am the Master Programmer. Today, I bring you 3 chilling stories unearthed by Beowulf, our investigator of the strange and mysterious. This time, we uncover encounters with people who aren't quite people. Figures that mimic, that watch, that wait, but are not truly human. So, if you're looking for a fright, something scary to watch at night, stay with us as we explore these 2 terrifying tales. First, in Not Quite Evan, a man runs into an old friend on the street. They reminisce, share old stories, until one detail doesn't add up. Then, in The Hollow Neighbor, a child warns his parents about the man next door. They dismiss this fear as just another tall tale, until the neighbor turns to smile at them, and they realize the boy was right. These stories are not for the faint of heart, so sit back, turn down the lights, and listen to the eerie tales Beowulf has uncovered. And if you enjoy our content, please subscribe to our channel for more chilling stories and dark discoveries. Welcome to another journey into the unknown, brought to you by the Dark Files. Nathan didn't believe in ghosts, or anything that couldn't be explained with logic. So when he ran into an old friend on his walk home from work one night, he didn't question it. Nathan? No way. The voice made him turn. Standing on the corner was Evan Mathis, a friend he hadn't seen in years. They used to be close, late night beers, road trips, the kind of friendship where months could pass, but they'd always pick up where they left off. Nathan grinned. Evan? Damn man, how long has it been? Too long, Evan laughed. You still in town? Yeah, I work over on 5th now. Just heading home. Evan nodded. You still talk to anyone from back in the day? Not really, Nathan replied. Life, you know? The conversation was easy, familiar. But the more they talked, the more something felt off. Evan's voice was the same. His mannerisms, the way he smirked. But his clothes looked a little too clean, like they'd never been worn. And his skin, something about it was too smooth, like a phone edited just enough to be unnatural. Then Evan asked, Do you remember that night by the lake? Nathan's stomach dropped. Of course he remembered it. 5 years ago, a camping trip with a few friends. They got drunk, built a bonfire, and told stupid stories until sunrise. But Evan wasn't there that night. He was supposed to come, even texted that he was on his way, but he never showed. Nathan hesitated. Yeah, I remember. Evan smiled. Man, that was a crazy night. You guys wouldn't stop talking about the thing in the woods. Nathan felt a chill crawl up his back. They had seen something that night. A figure standing just beyond the trees, watching them. They joked about it, tried to act tough. But the next morning, none of them could shake the feeling that something had really been there. Nathan forced a laugh. Yeah, we were idiots. Evan grinned. We should catch up soon. Yeah, Nathan said quickly, for sure. They shook hands, and Nathan walked away, heart pounding. He didn't look back. At home, Nathan tried to shake the feeling of unease. He opened his laptop, intending to scroll through social media to distract himself. But then a thought hit him. He hadn't spoken to Evan in years. He wasn't even sure if he had his number anymore. So, on a whim, he typed Evan Mathis into Facebook. A profile popped up, but the banner at the top of the page stopped Nathan cold. Remembering Evan Mathis. His mouth went dry. He clicked the page, his hand shaking. Evan's last post was from 3 weeks ago. The comments were flooded with condolences. Nathan's mind raced. No way. He had just seen him. He had just talked to him. But then, the details started clicking together. The freakishly clean clothes, their oddly smooth skin. The way Evan's memory of that night wasn't quite right. Nathan's stomach twisted as a new thought surfaced. Had something else shown up that night in the woods? And had it finally come looking for him? His phone buzzed, making him jump. A notification. Unknown number. Nathan's breath caught in his throat. He stared at the message for a long time before finally opening it. It was short, simple. You said you'd call me soon. Why haven't you? Nathan's apartment suddenly felt quiet. He glanced at the window, half expecting to see someone standing outside, but there was nothing. His phone buzzed again. Another message. I remember the lake. Nathan's hands trembled. He turned his phone off, but he had the overwhelming sense that somewhere out there, it was still waiting, still watching. And now, it knew where to find him. But what was more concerning? Evan Mathis's body was never found. So whatever Nathan spoke to that night, whatever sent him that text, was never identified. Be careful who you run into on the street. They might look like someone you know, but that doesn't mean they are. Elliot had a habit of making things up. He wasn't a bad kid, just one of those kids with a big imagination. He told his parents wild stories all the time, like the time he swore he saw a ghost in the attic, or the week he insisted the school librarian was a vampire. So, when he started talking about the hollow neighbor, his parents didn't take it seriously. You know how he is, Claire told her husband one evening. Last week, he said the mailman was an alien. Mark chuckled. Next week, it'll be me. But something about the way Elliot said it nagged at her. He really believes it, Claire said. He told me Mr. Martin isn't real, that he's just wearing a person's skin. Mark sighed. Maybe we should cut back on the scary movies. Claire let it go. At least until she saw Mr. Martin standing in the yard that night. It was just after sunset when Claire walked into the kitchen. Elliot was already sitting at the table, coloring. Then he stopped, put his marker down. Mom, he whispered, he's watching again. Claire frowned and followed his gaze out the window. Mr. Martin stood in his front yard, staring at the house. He didn't move, didn't even blink. He just stood there. A strange unease settled into Claire's stomach. Maybe he was lost in thought. Maybe he had fallen asleep on his feet. Still, she gently pulled the curtain shut. Come on, bud. she said quickly. "Time for bed." The next morning, Mark tried to reassure her. "Look, I'll talk to him, all right? I'm sure it's nothing." That evening, as Mark was taking out the trash, he saw Mr. Martin sitting on the porch. Something about the way he sat bothered Mark. He was too still. His posture was too stiff, like someone who wasn't quite sure how to relax. Still, Mark walked over. "Hey, Jim," he called. No response. He stepped closer. "Jim?" Mr. Martin's head turned, just slightly. Mark's stomach twisted. The way he moved, it wasn't natural, like a puppet whose strings had just been yanked. Mark forced himself to be calm. "You good, man?" Mr. Martin's mouth opened, not in a normal way, slowly, like he wasn't used to using it. Then, in a voice that sounded almost, but not quite human, he asked, "Do I look real now?" Mark didn't respond. He just turned and walked back inside. That night, Claire called the police. The officers arrived 20 minutes later. They knocked on Mr. Martin's door. No answer. When they let themselves inside, they found nothing. The house was empty. Not abandoned, not ransacked, just empty. No furniture, no decorations, no sign that anyone had lived there in years. Mark and Claire were stunned. "But," Claire stammered, we saw them. We've spoken to them." That's when one of the officers checked the county records. The Martins had moved away 6 months ago. The people next door, the ones Claire had waved to, the ones Mark had spoken with, had never been the real Martins at all. And Elliot? He wasn't surprised. He just looked up at his parents and said, "I told you." The officer who took their statement later wrote something strange in the case file. "Before I left, I asked the kid how he knew the neighbor wasn't real. He said, because when people talk, they have voices inside. But when Mr. Martin talked, there was nothing in there at all." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our page to stay updated. Stay vigilant. The unknown is always closer than you think.